There's a lot of discussion lately about trees in Atlanta, and rightly so. Atlanta is often referred to as the city in a forest. Whether you're flying above in a plane or strolling along one of Atlanta's tree-lined streets, it's easy to see how Atlanta became famous for its trees. But as the city grows, more and more trees are removed to make way for development. Have you noticed that? I have too. I'm Teri Nye, and I design parks for an organization called Park Pride. I've been learning a lot lately about how Atlanta can protect its amazing trees. I want to start by taking a closer look at how we benefit from existing trees. These benefits are called ecosystem services. These are the services that trees provide to us and to our environment. It's not big news that we have hot summers and springs and falls here in Atlanta, and I think we all know that being in the shade of a tall tree is much more comfortable than standing out in the hot sun. Existing trees cool our homes, our sidewalks, and most importantly, us. All of this cooling means we spend fewer dollars to cool our homes and have shady sidewalks for an afternoon stroll. Trees and their roots also prevent flooding and reduce the impact of drought. Trees are like giant sponges, able to absorb hundreds of gallons of water per day. The best way to prevent local flooding and damage from drought is to make sure rainfall soaks into the soil as soon as it hits the ground, where it hits the ground. That way, stormwater is absorbed rather than flooding our streets and our homes, and the local water table is replenished at the same time. The leafy tree canopy also breaks the fall of raindrops hitting the ground, slowing them down and reducing the rain's power to erode the soil. Plant roots hold soil in place, and fallen leaves turn into free mulch and fertilizer. What more could you ask for? Trees also provide food and shelter for wildlife and for us too. Do you like pecans? What about walnuts? How about delicious service berries? Our big canopy trees also produce happiness. Have you ever been awestruck by a magnificent tree? They are something we can enjoy for generations. Mature canopy trees are a hallmark of Atlanta. They make our neighborhoods pleasant and friendly. Birds are chirping, people are smiling, everyone's happy. Views of trees are lovely, and the light shining through leaves is beautiful. But when our existing trees are removed to make way for improvements, suddenly there are problems. Sunlight just doesn't filter through a neighbor's house quite like it does through a leafy tree canopy. A close-up view of the side of your neighbor's house isn't as pleasant as green foliage. Stormwater runoff increases as new houses take up more space, not allowing water to soak into what were once front and backyards. Finger pointing ensues. So what can we do to protect the trees we have? One of the things Atlanta can do is buy land with significant stands of trees and keep it that way. This is called conservation. By purchasing big clumps of forested land, Atlanta can make sure that those forests are protected and available for all to enjoy. Another thing we can do is plant more trees. It turns out that small trees acclimate easier to new growing conditions. Small trees are the big trees of our future. Plus, planting trees is fun. But you might have noticed that when big trees get cut down, they get replaced by small trees. And you might wonder, are lots of small trees equal to one or two existing trees? That's a good question, and that's what I want to talk about next. Remember when I said that a tree can absorb hundreds of gallons of water per day? Well, that depends on its size and even its species. Tree scientists can figure out how much water a tree can absorb by the size of its trunk. But you could think of a small tree as a single straw. In comparison, a mature tree is like hundreds of straws in one bundle. The more straws you have, the more water will be absorbed during and after storms. When mature trees are removed and former green spaces are paved or covered by structures, stormwater doesn't get absorbed like it used to. A few small trees here and there just can't absorb enough water to prevent flooding. And that flooding might not be happening on your property, but it might be causing major problems for those around you. But once development comes with more roofs, more roads, more parking, and other impermeable surfaces, water will start behaving differently. And given that we are facing increasingly severe storms, which would you rather have? A few small trees or the protection of many mature trees? Remember, mature trees can soak up hundreds of gallons of rain. Large trees and green spaces distributed throughout a neighborhood are a reliable way to increase the ability of land to soak up extra water that comes along with severe storms. This is called resilience. Another important thing to do is get involved in the revision process of Atlanta's Tree Protection Ordinance. Atlanta's Department of City Planning is currently in the process of developing a new tree ordinance. There are 2 websites where you can find out more. The first, here on the slide, is where you can find updates and submit your opinion to City Council. At the second site, atltreeordinance.com, you'll find an interactive guide that will make it easier to use the tree ordinance, report violations, and check on the status of permits. The City of Atlanta has already taken an important step toward tree protection. During the permitting process, efforts are being made to make the Arborist Division the first to review building plans. This means that if an existing tree can be saved by changing the plans, those changes can be made before building begins and megabucks have been spent. But we still need to figure out how to prevent illegal tree destruction and how to get more frequent inspections during the construction process to check on tree protection fencing, placement of staging areas, and erosion control. If you see construction vehicles or equipment parked under trees or trees without orange tree protection fencing, say something. Let your council member know that trees may be damaged. It's also super important to value existing trees at their true worth. In today's economy, given the services that a tree provides, like lower utility bills, flood control, soil conservation, shade, air purification, ecosystem balance, increased home values, and neighborhood desirability, depending on its size and age, a mature tree is actually worth thousands of dollars to your home and neighborhood. Planting new trees is important, but it will be a while before they can cast much shade, soak up floodwaters, check erosion, provide food and shelter for wildlife, or are visible on the flight path above Atlanta. So I hope you can see why it's super important to save our existing trees. Thank you so much.